Here are moments in life when it feels like every door is shut, every opportunity is out of reach, and every effort leads to a dead end. But I want you to know today, your words have power. What you declare over your life determines what doors open before you. There is incredible power in the words we speak. Every day, whether we realize it or not, we are declaring something over our lives. Some people wake up and say, nothing ever works out for me. I'm always struggling. I'll never get ahead. And that's exactly what happens. They don't understand that their words are setting the direction for their lives. But I want you to understand today, you have the ability to shift your reality with the words you speak. Your words are not just sounds coming from your mouth. They are creative forces that shape your future. When you declare victory, doors of opportunity open. When you declare favor, the right connections find you. When you declare healing, your body begins to respond. This isn't just wishful thinking or some positive mindset trick. This is a spiritual law, a principle that governs life. If you study highly successful people, whether in business, sports, or leadership, you will find a common thread. They are careful about what they say. They speak life over their situations, even when circumstances don't look promising. They understand that words create reality. Think about a builder. Before a house is ever built, an architect first draws a blueprint. The builders don't just show up and start hammering nails into random pieces of wood. No, they follow a specific plan. Your words are the blueprint of your life. Every time you speak, you are constructing something. If you constantly speak words of defeat, lack, and negativity, you are building a life of struggle and disappointment. But when you begin to declare words of faith, success, and abundance, you are building a life of strength, joy, and opportunity. There is a story of a young man who had struggled with insecurity his entire life. He had been told he wasn't smart enough, talented enough, or good enough to accomplish anything great. And for years, he lived under that weight. But one day, he made a decision. He was going to change his words. He started speaking things that felt unnatural at first. I am capable. I am strong. I am favored. I have everything I need to succeed. At first, nothing changed. His circumstances were the same, but he didn't stop. He kept declaring it day after day, and over time, his mindset shifted. Opportunities started coming his way. People began to see something different in him. And eventually, his life completely turned around. What changed? His words. Some people are waiting for circumstances to change before they speak differently. They think, I'll start saying good things when I see good things happening. But that's backward. You have to declare it before you see it. You have to speak it before it happens. That's what faith is. Believing before the evidence appears. When you wake up in the morning, don't just check your phone or start thinking about everything that could go wrong that day. Instead, take a moment to speak over your life. Say things like, you may not feel like it, your circumstances may not reflect it yet, but when you speak it, you are planting seeds. Just like a farmer doesn't see a harvest the day after he plants a seed, your words may take time to manifest. But if you keep watering those seeds, keep declaring what you want to see, they will produce fruit in due time. Some people don't realize that their own words are keeping them stuck. They complain about their job, their finances, their relationships, and then wonder why nothing ever changes. They don't understand that complaining is just as powerful as declaring, except it works against them instead of for them. Every time they say, I'll never get ahead, they are reinforcing that reality. Every time they say, I never have enough, they are locking themselves into a cycle of lack. If you want to see doors open, if you want to experience breakthrough, you have to start speaking differently. Instead of saying, I'm stuck, say, new doors are opening for me. Instead of saying, I always struggle, say, I am walking in abundance. Instead of saying, nothing ever works out, say, everything is working together for my good. You may be thinking, but what if I don't believe it yet? That's okay. Say it anyway. Your mind may not believe it at first, but as you continue speaking it, your faith will rise to match your words. Think about an athlete training for a race. When they start, they may not feel strong, their muscles may be sore, their endurance may be weak, but as they keep training, their body begins to adapt. Their strength increases, their stamina grows. The same thing happens with your words. When you first start declaring victory, it may feel unnatural, your mind may resist it, but the more you do it, the more your belief will align with your declarations. Maybe you've been saying the wrong things for years. Maybe you've been speaking doubt, fear, and negativity without even realizing it. The good news is you can change it today. You don't have to stay stuck in that cycle. You have the power to rewrite your story with your words. It's not enough to just think positive thoughts. You have to speak them out loud. There is something about hearing yourself declare things that reinforces them in your spirit. It strengthens your faith. It builds confidence. There is a reason why successful people use affirmations daily. They understand that what they continually say, they eventually believe. And what they believe, they attract into their lives. Look at your life right now. What areas feel like closed doors? Where do you feel stuck? Instead of talking about the problem, start declaring the solution. If you're struggling financially, instead of saying, I never have enough, start saying, I am walking into abundance. If you feel like opportunities are passing you by, instead of saying, I'm always overlooked, say, the right doors are opening for me. What you speak today is shaping your tomorrow. If you want to change your future, start changing your words. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles to success, to breakthrough, to walking in the fullness of what is meant for you. It's not the lack of opportunity that holds most people back. It's not a shortage of talent or resources. More often than not, it's fear. Fear whispers, what if you fail? Fear says you're not qualified. Fear makes you hesitate when you should move forward. It keeps you stuck in places you were never meant to stay. But today you have to make a decision. Are you going to let fear control you, or are you going to step out in faith? Faith and fear cannot operate in the same space. One will always push the other out. When fear is present, faith shrinks. When faith is strong, fear loses its grip. The question is, which one are you feeding? Are you constantly rehearsing the worst case scenarios, imagining everything that could go wrong? Or are you declaring that things will work in your favor, that doors will open, that what is meant for you will find you? The thoughts you nurture determine the life you experience. Many times people don't realize they are giving fear control. They think they are just being realistic, just playing it safe. But fear disguises itself as logic, as caution, as preparation. It convinces you that you're protecting yourself when in reality it's keeping you from what you were meant to do. It tells you to wait for the perfect moment, for the perfect circumstances, for a sign. But faith doesn't wait for the conditions to be perfect. Faith moves forward even when there is uncertainty. Faith says, I don't know how this will work out, but I believe it will. There's a story about a man who had a dream of starting his own business. He had the skills, the passion, and the vision. But every time he thought about taking the leap, fear would rise up. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if no one supports me? And so year after year, he stayed in a job he didn't love, watching other people step into their dreams while he remained stuck. One day he met an older gentleman who had spent his entire life working for someone else. The man looked at him and said, son, the only thing worse than failing is never trying. Something clicked in his mind. He realized he had been letting fear write his story. That day, he made a decision to step out in faith. It wasn't easy. There were challenges along the way, but because he moved in faith, doors opened that he never could have imagined. Fear will always try to convince you that you're not ready. It will point out all the reasons why you should wait. It will magnify the risks and minimize the rewards. But you were not created to live in fear. You were not designed to stay in a place of hesitation. When you feel that fear rising, you have to make a conscious decision to speak faith instead. Instead of saying, what if I fail? Say, what if I succeed? Instead of saying, I'm not qualified, say, I have everything I need. Instead of saying, I don't see a way, say, a way will be made for me. Think about an eagle. When an eagle is young, it stays in the nest where it is warm, comfortable, and safe. But there comes a moment when the mother eagle begins to push it to the edge. Why? Because if the eagle never leaves the nest, it will never learn to fly. At first, the young eagle resists. It doesn't want to leave what is familiar. It's afraid of falling. But the moment it takes that leap, something amazing happens. Its wings catch the wind, and it begins to soar. Some people never experience what they are truly capable of because they refuse to leave the nest. They stay in the comfort zone, afraid of what might happen if they take the leap. But what if the thing you're afraid of is actually the thing that will allow you to soar? Faith doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It doesn't mean you won't have doubts. Faith means you don't let those doubts control your decisions. It means you act despite the fear. It means you trust that what's on the other side is greater than the fear that's trying to hold you back. There's an ancient story about a group of people who stood before a massive body of water with an army chasing them from behind. Fear told them it was over, that they had no way out. But faith told them to move forward. And as they stepped into the water, it parted before them, making a way where there was none. That's what faith does. It doesn't wait for the path to be clear before moving. It moves and then the path becomes clear. So many people are waiting for their Red Sea to part before they take a step. They want everything lined up perfectly before they make a move. But faith doesn't work that way. You have to step out first. You have to take action before you see the full picture. When you do, doors open, opportunities appear, and things begin to shift in your favor. Fear is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. In fact, fear often shows up right before a breakthrough. It's a sign that you're stepping into something bigger than yourself. When fear rises, that's your cue to move forward, not shrink back. That's your moment to declare, I will not be stopped. I will not be held back. I will not let fear dictate my future. Think about a small child learning to walk. At first they stumble, they fall, they struggle to find their balance. But do they quit? No. They get back up and try again. They don't let fear stop them because they don't know they should be afraid. They just keep going. Somewhere along the way we lose that childlike faith. We become too aware of failure, too conscious of what could go wrong. But what if we approached life with that same persistence? What if instead of giving up at the first sign of difficulty, we kept moving forward? There's a saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's not about eliminating fear, it's about refusing to let it win. Every person who has ever achieved something great has faced fear. But instead of retreating, they pushed forward, they spoke faith, they declared victory even before they saw it. What you say in moments of fear matters. Your words have power. If you keep saying, I can't do this, then you are reinforcing the fear. But if you say, I am strong, I am bold, I am equipped for this moment, then you are strengthening your faith. Fear thrives on doubt, but faith thrives on declaration. When you wake up in the morning, before fear has a chance to creep in, start speaking faith. Say, I am more than a conqueror. I am stepping into new opportunities. What is meant for me is already on its way. Don't let fear have the first word. Speak faith first. The people who win in life are not the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who refuse to let fear make their decisions. They are the ones who move forward despite the uncertainty, who trust that the doors will open at the right time. So many people live their lives waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for something to shift, waiting for a door to open. They pray, they hope, they work hard, but deep down they still wonder if things will ever change. They look at their circumstances and all they see are closed doors. They see rejection, setbacks, delays, obstacles that seem impossible to overcome. But what if the doors you're waiting for aren't really closed? What if they're already unlocked and all you have to do is push? Too often people assume that because something looks difficult, it must be impossible. They think that because they haven't seen results yet, nothing is happening. But the truth is, just because you don't see the door opening doesn't mean it's locked. Sometimes all it takes is one more push, one more act of faith, one more step forward. Some doors don't open automatically. You have to walk toward them first. You have to believe that on the other side of your effort, there is a breakthrough waiting. There's a story of a man who got trapped in a room. He pushed on the door, but it wouldn't budge. He banged on it, called out for help, but no one responded. Hours passed, and he began to lose hope. He thought to himself, this door is locked. There's no way out. Finally, out of frustration, he leaned against the door, and to his surprise, it swung open. The door had never been locked. It just required him to push with the right pressure. How many times do we stand in front of an opportunity, convinced that it's not for us, when in reality, all we had to do was take another step forward? A closed door is not always a permanent rejection. Sometimes it's just a test of perseverance. Life is full of moments that seem like dead ends, but what if they are really just moments that require a little more faith? What if that opportunity you've been praying for is already prepared for you, but it's waiting for you to make the first move? People often say, if it's meant to be, it will happen. And while that sounds good, it's only part of the truth. Yes, what is meant for you will find you, but that doesn't mean you can sit back and do nothing. Doors don't always open on their own. You have to be willing to knock. You have to be willing to turn the handle. You have to trust that what you are seeking is already within reach. Think about a runner in a race. They can see the finish line, but they still have to run to reach it. They don't stop halfway and say, well, if I'm meant to win, I'll win. No, they keep moving forward step by step, pushing through the fatigue, pushing through the resistance. That's the same way you have to approach your journey. Just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's not meant for you. Just because there is resistance doesn't mean you should turn back. In fact, resistance is often a sign that you're getting closer. There is a story of two men who were digging for gold. They had heard that a certain area was rich with treasure, so they began digging. Days turned into weeks, and still they found nothing. Finally, one of them said, this is pointless. We've been digging forever, and there's nothing here. He dropped his tools and walked away. The other man, however, decided to keep going. He dug just 3 feet deeper, and there, just beneath where his friend had given up, was a massive vein of gold. He didn't find it because he was stronger, smarter, or luckier. He found it because he didn't quit. Some people are just 3 feet away from their breakthrough, but they stop because they think the door is locked. They assume that because they haven't seen movement yet, nothing is happening. But what if they just kept pushing? What if they just kept believing? What if they chose to trust that the doors were already unlocked? The biggest challenge is not the locked doors. It's the doors we assume are locked. The ones we never even try to open, the ones we convince ourselves are too heavy to push. So many times, people miss out on opportunities because they talk themselves out of them before they even try. They say things like, I'm not qualified, I'm not ready, it's too late for me. But those are just excuses. Those are just fear dressed up as logic. Imagine standing in front of a door waiting for it to open, only to realize that it has been unlocked the whole time. All you had to do was step forward. But fear kept you standing still. Doubt convinced you it wasn't for you. Insecurity made you believe you didn't deserve it. But the truth is, if the opportunity is in front of you, then it is meant for you. If the dream is in your heart, then the way to achieve it already exists. Sometimes the reason a door doesn't open right away is because you are being prepared for what's on the other side. If every door opened instantly, you might step into something before you're ready. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It's a time of preparation, of growth, of strengthening your faith. If you're facing a delay, don't assume the door is locked. Maybe it's just a moment for you to grow into the person who can handle what's coming. Think about a seed planted in the ground. It doesn't sprout overnight. For a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are growing, strength is being built, and when the time is right, it breaks through the soil. The same is true for you. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean things aren't shifting in your favor. Just because the door hasn't opened yet doesn't mean it won't. Some people spend their whole lives knocking on one door, convinced that it has to open, while ignoring the fact that another door is standing wide open right next to them. Sometimes the opportunity you're looking for isn't where you expected it to be. That's why you have to stay open. That's why you have to keep moving, keep believing, keep looking for the ways that are already being made for you. You weren't meant to live a life of constant struggle. You weren't meant to keep waiting, hoping, and wondering if things will ever change. The doors are already unlocked. The opportunities are already lined up. The path is already prepared. But you have to move toward it. You have to step forward with faith, not fear. You have to trust that what you are seeking is also seeking you. Everything you need to step into your destiny is already within you. The doors you've been waiting for are not as closed as they seem. The breakthrough you've been praying for is not as far away as you think. But the key to unlocking it all is in your hands. It's in your words, your faith, your persistence. You have to decide today that fear will no longer hold you back, that doubt will no longer keep you stuck, that hesitation will no longer steal your opportunities. You have to choose faith over fear, confidence over insecurity, action over waiting. There will always be moments where the path isn't clear, where the challenges seem too big, where the doors don't open right away. But remember this, just because it looks impossible doesn't mean it is. Just because you can't see the way doesn't mean there isn't one. Just because the door hasn't opened yet doesn't mean it's locked. The time for waiting is over. The time for second guessing is done. It's time to push forward, to declare victory before you see it, to take the steps that will lead you into the life that is already waiting for you. Speak it, believe it, step into it, because when you move in faith, all doors will open.